Hey guys, so on this video, I'm gonna be showing you how to install a CrossPro radiator guard on our Rieju MR300. This should be the same process for any brand radiator guard, but right now I really chose the CrossPro because of its simplicity and minimalist design. So here right now you can see how it looks fully installed and ready to go. So as you can see, I like that it's very simple and it's not so obstructive to the airflow. So why do we put a radiator guard? It doesn't matter if you're a weekend warrior or if you do extreme enduro. One thing's for certain, we all crash. And without protection, our radiators look like this, and all of these. And when our radiators are bent, we have less coolant circulation, less airflow, which creates heat, and heat means less power and more wear to the engine, making you a sad rider. Alright, so let's get to it. Alright, so here's our CrossPro aluminum radiator guard. These things are bike specific, so please make sure that they're correct for your bike. For the Rieju MR Pro, the stock fan is actually riveted directly to the radiator, right there. Which adds an extra step because now that means we have to carefully remove them so that we can install these radiator guards. Alright, so let me show you why. Let's open this up. I still enjoy opening these things up. It's just like when you were a kid and opening a gift for Christmas. Alright, so let's see what we have here. So we have here the manual. Okay, so we won't need that. Okay, next we'll go ahead and... Okay, so these are the hardware. So you have the hardware, the rods and the bolts. And... Alright, so these are the braces. So you have 4 of them, 2 for each side. One would be the inner, which I think this is. Okay, so let me figure this out. Alright, okay, so alright, I have that other way around. So this goes here, so that's the outer piece. You'll know because of the mounts for the radiator fan. Alright, so I guess we have what we need for this side. So we'll need both of these. Alright, next. Alright, so I'm gonna be needing a T25 Torx to free up the radiator fan. So I'm removing these bolts so that I can see how much space or how much I can move the radiator so that I can get to the other side and drill out the rivets holding the radiator fan. So let's see how much space or how much wiggle room we have here. Alright, so this is a little bit disappointing. There's not much wiggle on the radiator. See, I can't pull this far enough so that I can access the side, the inner side of the fan mounts that's riveted on the radiator. So I think, so we have to remove this, but first we have to remove a little bit of the coolant. Alright, so to drain the coolant, just remove this drain bolt and make sure to remove the cap of your radiator. If you plan to reuse the coolant, just make sure that you use a clean bucket so that it doesn't get any debris when you put them back in the bike. Alright, so I didn't remove all of the coolant, I just removed just enough so that I can remove this hose on the top. To remove this, just use a 6mm socket and loosen the clamp so you can pop the hose out. So in this step, we just need to drill the rivets holding the radiator mounts on the outer side of the radiator first. So here you'll need a 4mm drill bit, so be careful not to go too deep that you might puncture the radiator we are trying to protect in the first place. So please be extra careful. So this step is only applicable for the MR Pro and 6 days models because the Ranger and the racing models don't have a fan, so you don't have to do this step. I also don't understand why they had to have this riveted on. I wish they just used a fastener like a bolt or a screw to hold this on, so that we don't have to drill this out. That way it's really something that we could just go ahead and screw out and remove and not have to go ahead and drill. Drilling this just really has so many things that can go wrong. You can go too deep and puncture the radiator we're trying to protect in the first place, so that's not fun. Alright, so I think that's good enough. So next you just have to tap the heads off using a screwdriver and a hammer, and just lightly tap until it falls off. There you go, just like that. Alright, so next I'm just going to be using a pliers to pry this open to release the mount of the fan. There you go, just like that. Alright, so this side is good. Now we have just to do the same thing on the other side. Alright, so I'll be removing the bolt, so the radiator might hit the pipe. So I just put a cloth there just to protect the pipe from being scratched before I remove the bolt on the top of the radiator. Now that's off, I have someone holding the radiator on the side for me as I drill the same rivets that's holding the fan brackets on the other side. So again, just the same steps. Drill carefully, don't go too deep. Once you feel you've penetrated enough, just tap the heads and just pry with the pliers, and you should be good. That should release the bracket holding the fan. Now that both sides don't have the rivets on, so you should be able to pull the bracket out just like this, and fans out. Alright, now let's just go ahead and take a look at the fan here. Alright, so it's pretty standard. It's a SPAL type fan, and for this bracket, maybe I could use this for some other bike. Yeah, I'll keep this. Alright, so next let's just go ahead and get the inner bracket. So you'll see there's an indicator there. So for this you would need a 4mm Allen key, to put the screws on through the rods. So for the CrossPro, you'll notice that there is a rod that's longer, and that goes to the top front part of the radiator. So just keep that in mind. Alright, so now let's start the assembly of the brace itself. So here I'll start with this rod. So let me just go ahead and screw that in. Okay, there you go. So once that's in place, just do the same for the other rods basically. Okay, screwing this rod in as well, just the same as the first one. So these two rods for this for the MR300 are the same length rods. So this go to the back where the radiator fan will be. All right. Okay. All right. So now those two rods at the back are in place. Let's go ahead and slide this in on the radiator, just like so. All right, just be careful we don't hit any of the fins and bend them. So removing the top radiator hose that connects both radiators turns out to be a really good idea, because now we can freely move the radiator to the side so we can easily slide the radiator guards in. Okay, next we just have to position the fan and bolt it on. So obviously just the two bolts for the inner side first, just to hold it in place. And that's how it's supposed to look. Right? So everything's bolted. There you go, top and the bottom. All right, everything looks great. The rods are in place. All right. Okay, so looking good. All right, so next up, we just have to bolt the radiators back in place to the chassis. Okay, now that's done, we just slide the louvers back on, just like so. Alright, so next we just go ahead and place and screw on the outer brace. Okay, start with this one. So this is the rod that's longer than the rest. So again, this is going to be the top part, and it's going to be the same for both the left and the right side. So don't forget to also put the Torx screws that hold the radiator fan. Okay, so now that's done, we're left with reconnecting the fan and making sure that we plug the socket back in. Alright, so we're halfway there. That's how it's gonna look like for the right side of your radiator. Pretty good if you ask me. The design is very simple yet effective, just the way I like it. Alright, let's do the other side. Alright, so here the process will just be repeated for this side. So now I've assembled the brace. Next is I'm going to be removing the bolts that hold the radiator. Then I'm going to be sliding the radiator brace on, just like so. Now that's on. Next we bolt on the rods at the bottom. Again, the longer one here on top. Now that's all set. We're ready to bolt the radiator back onto the chassis. There we are. Next, we slide the louvers back on once that's tight. There you go. Right? The last piece, the outer brace, screw them on, and we're almost done. I told you, a lot quicker on this side because there's no fan to deal with. And there you have it, guys. Look at that piece. I don't know about you guys, but I love the way it looks. Look at that. Alright, so that concludes this video. So I hope this video helped you to install your CrossPro radiator braces on your Rieju motorcycle. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you how it looks with the tank and the seat on. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed watching and accompanying me in this journey. I have a few other parts to put on the bike. We will be upgrading to a CrossPro skid plate so that it also covers the linkage. We are also going to be putting a Polysport front disc protector and a Polysport fork shoe. We're also going to be putting on a P-Tech rear disc protector. So our next video will be any of those. But for now, we're going to keep it here. Again, thank you for watching. Always ride safe and see you on the trails. Now, how the hell do I put the louvers on? Fuck. Where's the manual?